So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes before people start coming in. But yeah, hope everybody is doing well. Got my Hey Archer merch, nerd affiliated. Uh, just opened that on the last live if you guys haven't checked that out. So make sure you do that. But today I thought for our second live, we might do something a little bit more topic based. I know I put out a question for people on Instagram, and I drastically failed a couple of you because some of the suggestions I had were to watch Stargirl. Another one was to watch The Old Guard. Now, Stargirl, I'm kind of hesitant about because it just kind of looks trashy. I don't know why. There's just like the look of maybe like the costumes and things like that. Don't really have me interested. But what was the other one? Old Guard. I drastically failed my man Dwight. I was supposed to watch it. I told him I was going to, and I didn't. And the reason because my wife wants to watch it. So that means that we have to watch it together. So I might not get to that soon, but it might be on Cinematically Late. And I actually had no interest in that movie whatsoever. But he actually sold it to me that it was kind of like an Assassin's Creed type of thing. So I'm like, okay, maybe I might go for it. I'm just not the biggest Charlize Theron fan. And then another suggestion I had was something called Mr. Smiles. I don't really know what that was. I tried to Google it, but I think it's a horror movie, like a creepy pasta something. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but that might be what that was. So, give it a couple of minutes here. I'm just kind of burning time. Don't really know what to say with the intro. I didn't really have a whole lot of topics. It's been a little over a week since the last time I did a live, but I decided to just do it again because there were some things I wanted to talk about, namely The Witcher and this new show that I just finished today called Cursed on Netflix. Now, I'm going to talk about The Witcher first and then Cursed because that's the newer thing. A little bit of a tease, a little bit of a sizzle there. So, The Witcher was something that was really, really interesting. I ended up watching it. Oh, hey, Archer's here. What's up, man? Yep. What in the house? All right. How do I do this again? Got a what and a bruh all together. All right. Awesome. So The Witcher. Now, this one was something that I was super excited about because Henry Cavill's in it. I'm a big fan of him. I didn't know anything about The Witcher other than it was a game. I didn't even know it was a book series, and I actually ended up started reading the entire series because of the show. Now, something that Archer said because he was actually doing some reviewing, some of his 2 minute reviews for The Witcher. Oh, let me put up the little fancy thingamabob there. But there we go. There he is. All right. So finishing up at work. Uh-oh. May not comment, but I'm here. All right. Well, we appreciate you anyway. How do I make these smaller? Well, I guess you want to read what you said. So finishing up at work, driving home. Please drive safe. Always appreciate driving safe, but I appreciate you stopping by. Always with my ill-timed lives, I know. But back to The Witcher. Archer, I know you were doing The Witcher 2 minute reviews for a little while. You weren't that big of a fan of it. And I can kind of explain why after watching the series and even starting reading some of the books. So the reason why it's kind of difficult to get into is because, and actually I have two of them here, because they're based on books. The first season is based off of these books here, The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny. So these ones aren't actually the first, although they're recommended to read first in the series, they're not actually the first official ones. The first official one is this one, which is Blood of Elves. Now, the Last Wish and Sword of Destiny are actually short stories that are in the Witcher universe that are supposed to kind of introduce you to the world a little bit, get you to know some of the terminology and things that they do. And actually, a lot of those short stories are in this first season. So it kind of works as an introductory type of thing. So there's a couple episodes. The one about obviously the wishes was one. I don't know if Archer got that far. There's a couple of different episodes. I think the siege kind of Sintra is in there. There's one about a particular like Witcher being at at a party type of thing. There's a couple of different short stories. That's why it seems a little bit disjointed, is because it's so much more focused on those sort of short stories that it's difficult to get a read on. And so because they're so not connected in terms of the books, but they try and connect them in the series, excuse me, it seems a little bit off-putting because they just try and force, oh, maybe it makes sense if they're disconnected or not traveling together, or like the whole story with the dragons, it just kind of seemed out of nowhere. I don't know if anybody's gotten that far yet. It seems out of left field, and that's because in the book, it's just part of a short story. It has no actual continuity within the actual grand story of The Witcher. It's just supposed to be introducing you to some little things here and there, different stories, how The Witcher uses his abilities in certain ways, what certain things may mean, his relationship with Yennefer, things like that. That just sort of seem so disjointed. And yeah, there's dragons. Archer popping in here while he's driving. There's dragons. It takes a little while to get there. I think it's on episode. There's only 8 episodes, so I think that was an episode. I want to say like 6, if I'm not wrong, 5 or 6. That there's a little bit of dragon stuff. We don't really get to see him a whole lot in that episode. I haven't actually read that short story because I read the first book, introduction, if you will, which was The Last Wish, and then I jumped right into the main series, which is Blood of Elves. So I haven't read Sword of Destiny, which contains that story. So I will get there eventually. I just went on this sort of Amazon shopping spree of books. I'm trying to read more. And since I'm so invested in The Witcher, I figured I would read The Witcher and get a little bit more knowledge in that department. So that's been a journey in itself. Overbought. I've so far have 4. I've only read 1.5 or 1 3/4. Hoping to finish one of the books today. But we'll get there. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying reading it because it brings a whole new side to it. And then there's the games. I actually started playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It's a little bit difficult. It's a bit of an undertaking. I'm not as much of a gamer as I used to be. So because it's so big in terms of map and scope and all these things you can do, it's a little bit overwhelming. It's hard to get into. But I'm still trying to stick with it just because I want a little bit more context in the world, visuals to match with what I'm reading other than just the stories of the series. Because I already kind of got those stories, I want to go beyond that and have some more interaction, I guess, going around fighting as a Witcher. So I'm really excited about trying to be a little bit more involved there. But yeah, I recommend checking out The Witcher. I know you said you kind of stopped watching it for a while. I know it wasn't exactly your cup of tea, Archer, but it's definitely worth watching. There are some really good stuff coming. I think that now, based on the end, and I don't really want to spoil this for anybody who hasn't watched it yet, especially Archer here. Oh, sorry, I got a notification. What was I going? The end. Now that that's kind of over and we did like the introductory stuff, I think it's going to be a lot more interesting to where they're going to go beyond it. I know a lot of people kind of compared The Witcher to Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones just ended and The Witcher just sort of started around that same time. But it's totally different stuff. And because Game of Thrones is very much that solid story throughout, and The Witcher is doing that individual storyline, introduce you to the world, and then, okay, we'll get to the meat of it. That's where it's going to be very vastly different. They are very different entities. And I recommend sticking with The Witcher, at least try it out, see exactly what's going on, because there is some really cool stuff to come. There's a whole thing about Astriga. I think that was pretty early on, though. I want to say that was like episode 1 or 2. That was probably one of the better fights overall, but there is some pretty cool stuff, so stick around for it. And then the second topic of this live, which is going to be Cursed. Now this one... Let me find my little fancy... let me flash my subscribe. Everybody got to promote. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like on this video on the live. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about anything during the live, even though I messed it up already because I didn't watch the things that were suggested to me. But I will get there. Could be part of Cinematic Late. There's a lot of different things that I could work out here to make sure that we get you guys involved a little bit more. And since he's in the room... make sure to subscribe to Hey Archer, heyarcher.com, as well as youtube.com/heyarcher. Awesome merch, nerd affiliated today. Got the mug as always. I'm terrible at this pointing thing. Mug as always. I did an unboxing in my last live, my first live, of a lot of Archer's merch. So make sure you check his stuff out. And then, whoops, there's his logo again in case you missed it. And now we're going to talk about Cursed. I wanted this live to go for like 30 minutes or maybe even 45 if it got to that, but I'm kind of burning through it. So Cursed. Now, this is a new series from Netflix that I just started, and actually, I saw the book in Barnes and Noble, but it just didn't look very good. It's written by a guy named Thomas Wheeler, but what's most interesting about it is it has illustrations done by Frank Miller. Now, if you know anything about comics rather, Frank Miller did The Dark Knight Returns and Sin City, and a lot of those bigger ones, 300. He wrote and illustrated a lot of those. A lot of Zack Snyder stuff. He did some illustrations for this book. Now, I thought it was a comic. Wasn't sure if it was a book. It's more of a book with just illustrations done by Frank Miller. So it's just sort of your standard novel, but just has pictures every once in a while. But okay, sorry. So this one stars Catherine Hardwicke, which if you've seen, I think it's Hardwicke is her name. I don't remember. Hardwicke? Langford. Catherine Langford. Sorry, totally wrong person. Catherine Langford, who is actually in 13 Reasons Why. That's the really only thing that I know her from. But she was also supposed to be in Avengers Endgame. I think she was supposed to be like Clint Barton's daughter, or no, that's not right. She was supposed to be Iron Man's daughter grown up. He sees her when he dies in like the Soul Stone type of thing. But that scene got cut, so she was supposed to be in that. Didn't work out. Hey, Dwight's here. What's up, man? No worries if you're late. I did not watch The Old Guard. I know I promised you that I would, and I messed it up. The wife wanted to watch it, so I couldn't watch it because, if she wants to watch it, then we got to watch it together. So I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I will make sure it's part of Cinematic Late or even the next live because sometimes I just run out of topics. So I will get you on that. Also, make sure to check out Dwight's stuff, Grind Legacy. He's got a website coming out on August the 1st. Yeah, he's got a new launch, new website, new merch coming out. So I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to check that out. So make sure to go check out Dwight and Grind _Legacy. I don't have a fancy little pop-up for you, but make sure to go check out his stuff. So Cursed. This one was really what's the best word for it? It basically like oozes like a young adult novel because it essentially is. But this one I think oozes it like more than anything I've ever seen before. More than like a Hunger Games or not necessarily Harry Potter so much, but like there's a ton of series based on young adult novels, and this one just like oozes it from start to finish. So she starts Catherine Langford. She's like this girl that has these specific abilities that we're never really quite sure what they are. Some connection with the forest or something like that. And it's basically a twist on like the King Arthur story. So it's like, what if, and I think it even says it in the poster. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm hovering over it with my mouse, but you probably can't see it. What if the sword chose a queen? So basically, what if the sword from Sword in the Stone or King Arthur, I don't even know, they call it like the cursed sword, sword of destiny, something like that in the actual show. But they reference it in terms of like, what if that sword had chosen a queen, like a woman, rather than Arthur, a man? I just messed up my hair. Okay, so anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's the story. And she kind of like has to get this sword from her sort of like clan type of thing over to Merlin, the wizard. And so actually Merlin is played by Gustav Skarsgård, one of the famous Skarsgårds. He doesn't really look like the rest of the family so much, like Bill Skarsgård and some of the other members. But he does look a lot like a Fiennes, so it's hard to put him in that family, at least in my mind. But he plays Merlin, and Arthur is actually played by, I don't even know the guy, but he played Barack Obama in the Barry movie. I haven't seen it. But he actually did a pretty good job. I thought that was an interesting twist on Arthur. A lot of the twists on the Arthur characters I think are really interesting. Although I do feel like Arthur stories, because they are public domain, it's kind of overplayed, kind of like Robin Hood, kind of like almost like a Cinderella. I don't know if Cinderella's public domain, but like Sherlock Holmes, those stories that you can get access to but not have to like pay royalties or anything like that too. It's kind of just overused. But it was a fun twist on a lot of the characters. Arthur had a little bit of a twist to him. Merlin obviously had a twist to him, and a lot of the characters. I mean, I don't want to spoil it in case anybody wants to watch it, but I will tell you that it is 10 episodes, and it really starts to feel like it after a little while. The first couple episodes, I was like, okay, I'm giving it a chance. It has some interesting concepts to it, but like as it started dragging on, it just started going a little bit too far in terms of like what they wanted me to invest in. That I just really couldn't care less. It wasn't necessarily just the main character, but a lot of the characters. Merlin's storyline is just kind of boring in terms of like what he is doing. He lost his magic, and honestly, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But a lot of the background is cool. So like a lot of there's like these certain characters and like these sort of woodland type of creatures that have like antlers, human people. I don't even know what they're called. They call themselves fae, but that's such like a vague term. They're for like fairies, but they're not really fairies. They're just like mythical creatures in a lot of ways. It's good to watch if you want something to watch, but if you want to be like invested in something, it's very easy to get disinterested in this series. There's a couple of characters. One guy, I don't know his name, but he's from Ozark. The first season, he played like the one of the major kingpins in like the first season of Ozark. He's in this one as like this priest. There's like these red cloak wearing people who are like after anyone magical or that are going essentially against God in a way. And they're essentially just murdering everybody. And he does a really good job of just playing like a guy you don't want to watch because he's just such an ass. So that guy definitely plays to type. He did the same thing in Ozark. He does it in this one. That you just want him to go away. But he does have a very much an intimidating character to him. So there was definitely that. What else do I want to talk about? There was something I want to talk about in this series. Something that I will give this series, though, it is brutal. Unlike The Witcher, there are some good scenes in The Witcher where you're like, damn, that guy really got like killed. Like good action and fight scenes. This one has okay fight scenes, but there is some serious blood. Like when they have this sword and they start wielding it, like they cut people. Like in the first, I think it's the end of the first episode. She's like running away in like this storm, and I think it's even in like the trailer. She's running away in like this storm and like finds like this rock in the middle of nowhere for some reason, and like it's being chased by wolves. And so she ends up taking out the sword. They don't show it in the trailer, but she like beheads these wolves. And like there is a lot of blood and gore when they want to show it. There's not a lot throughout the series, but I think in like the first episode, there's a little bit in the middle, and then like the very end, like the last one or two episodes, that's when there's like the most like blood or like people being killed for and like showing you. Whereas instead of like they just get stuck with like an arrow, and all of a sudden there's a little bit of red, and then they're gone. And they're like, oh no, they're gone. So there are some seriously brutal moments in this series, but they're so few and far between that you kind of forget. And then once those scenes happen, you're like, oh, that's kind of why I was watching this series, is because it does show a little bit more brutal aspect to it that you wouldn't really get to see in a lot of places. But because it just oozes that young adult angst and novels to it, it just kind of like fell flat, especially towards the end. I wasn't that big of a fan of it. Once I started watching it, I wasn't necessarily watching it because I was invested. I was watching it because I just wanted to find out what was going to happen. If there is going to be a season 2, I will most likely watch it just because I want to know where they're going with it. But I don't know if I'm like that excited for a season 2. If I really had to pick, I mean, Archer had a question here. Is this on Netflix? Yes, it is on Netflix. I think it's fairly new. Probably came out in the last few weeks, I would guess. I just noticed it on Netflix when I was searching through it the other day for my next series. I was supposed to watch Dark. I'm supposed to watch a lot of things and then I don't watch them. I was supposed to watch Dark because it's been recommended to me a couple of times by a few different people. But just something about it being like 3 seasons, I just hate having to catch up. But for some reason, part of me, when a show is about to end, that's when I want to catch up. Like Game of Thrones, I started watching it at the beginning, and then I fell out of it like season 3 to 4, something like that, and I just didn't watch it for years. And then like when they were like, okay, we're gonna finish it out. Season eight's the final season. Uh, it's gonna be over with. That's when I decided to binge watch all of it and then like completely catch up by then. So I'm really bad at watching a show until it's about to end. So because there are 3 seasons on Dark, I don't know how invested I want to be in it yet, but I know I should watch it. It's on the list, the watch list, whatever it's called for Netflix. So I will get there eventually. But hopefully, well, that would be one. Um, if I had to pick one, what show would we watch first between Witcher and Cursed? Oh, I would 100% go with The Witcher. The Witcher is so much better in terms of like just awesomeness. Plus, it's got Henry Cavill, which is a lot more fun to watch. The reason why I like The Witcher a lot more is because it uses a lot of aspects to it that Curse doesn't really use. I like the fact that they have variety in this show. They have creatures like Strigas. They don't show all of them, but they do mention several other ones. Like we know this is a world with vampires, with werewolves, with various creatures. There's like this fawn character that like hangs out in like a field in one of the short stories that we kind of get a mention and like look at. And there's dragons as well, as I mentioned earlier in the stream. Don't really get a big look at them in the series, but they are pretty awesome in terms of like lore. I feel like world-wise, The Witcher is way better. Plus, I think the idea of where was I going with this? The idea of like the Witchers being monster hunters is hands down one of the best parts. Cursed, they're just like living in this world. I like the twist with the Arthur characters, but The Witcher is hands down way better. I would definitely go with that one. Left where I left off. Jonathan Travel Tours. What's up, man? No worries. Welcome to the stream. We got, let's see. Would you compare the action to Into the Badlands? I haven't watched Into the Badlands, but I know that was actually one that I really wanted to watch. I think that one's kind of more samurai, if I remember correctly, like samurai and like fighting. I did want to watch it, but I haven't watched that one yet. I think that was one that I wanted to watch, and then they announced that it was ending, but I didn't watch for some reason. I don't remember why. For some reason, I stopped watching. So another recommendation for Into the Badlands. So I know I need to watch it. I don't remember why it was, but it did. It was recommended to me, but I think I don't. I'm trying to remember. I remember seeing it. It kind of like had like a magical aspect, but kind of samurai to it, if I remember correctly. Definitely right up my alley, but for some reason I just missed it. Archer saying what's up to Jonathan. Leave a thumbs up. Yes, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Always appreciate it on those. Add it to the list. Into the Badlands, probably. Yes, I will add it to the list. I think I took it off for some reason just because I was like, I know that the list of Netflix doesn't expire at any point, but for some reason I just take them off after a little while just because I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever watch this. So I always take it off, or if they take it off of Netflix in general, sometimes it'll just disappear. And when they add it back on, I'll forget. But I'll make sure to add that one onto the list to watch that one. Yeah. So, oops. Add to the list. Okay. So yeah, those are pretty much all the things I really want to talk about. I mean, it's a really short live, nothing really exciting. The Witcher, I think I just had so much fun with in the world. It was definitely worth checking out. And then Cursed is what we also talked about. Again, not the best. I don't want to spoil Cursed, but at the same time, I do want to spoil it because there are certain aspects to it, especially in the end, that have so much more of a payoff than stuff that was like in the middle towards the late end of it, because they introduce you to major characters like Merlin, like Arthur so early on, and then they kind of spend so long on their own little journey that at the very last minute, like in the end of the episode, the last episode, they kind of start introducing some other characters that you're like, okay, I know those characters. Something that maybe could have kept you invested, and it just went on way too long. This show felt like it could have easily been 8 episodes. They could have cut out a good majority of it, and it would have been fine. Not that there was filler episodes, but there were filler moments that honestly were just kind of boring. So again, if I had to choose the two, definitely go Witcher over Cursed. Had a lot more interesting stuff to it. I don't know, hard to say. But if you do want to watch something sort of sword and shield, because you finished watching The Witcher, I would definitely check out Cursed. It's worth watching. I know that there's another couple of shows. I don't know, Vikings is one of them. Speaking of Vikings, though, there are some aspects to Cursed, like Viking like characters or like Icelandic type characters that are kind of introduced later that are kind of fun. I would be really interested to see where that goes. I don't know if this show is going to get a season 2. I want to say it's not. Oh, this says summer 2020 on it. When did this come? Probably the very beginning of July that this came out. So I'm only like 2 weeks late. Okay, so again, always late to these things. But really, that's all I had to talk about. I just want to talk about The Witcher, talk about Cursed, get that off my mind. Cursed, I literally just finished today. The Witcher, I finished maybe 2 weeks ago, and I started reading the books. So just because I love that world and I really want to get more invested. Cursed, I'm probably not going to read the book, not going to rewatch season 1. Maybe watch season 2 if you're already watched season 1 if it comes out. But other than that, really not worth watching. But really, that's all I have. I know it's a pretty short live. Only been going about 27 minutes. I don't know if I just talked really fast or if I just didn't really have a lot to sell you guys today. I don't know. But hopefully we'll have some more fun on the next live. Maybe do some more interesting stuff. Don't want to keep you guys going for too long. I know whoever showed up today. I know Dwight was here, Jonathan, Archer. Always great to see you guys. If you guys are if anybody is watching this on the replay, thanks so much for joining in. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. It was exciting for me to talk about because obviously I watched and invested in these things. But hopefully you enjoyed it if you're on Team Replay. Make sure you let me know if you want me to watch anything. I'm interested to watch whatever. Have to add Into the Badlands back to my list, as Dwight had me do, recommended there, as well as Old Guard. Dwight's just killing it with the recommendations lately. He's throwing me all these things. I need to watch another movie. Brightburn is on my list. There's a ton of stuff that I have on the list. I'll get to it either in a live or an actual video. So make sure you guys are subscribed for the actual videos when those come out. But lives are fun too. Always a good time to chit chat, hang out with you guys, talk about whatever, even if I don't want to make a full video about it, like The Witcher or Cursed. So make sure you guys do subscribe. I do greatly appreciate it. I am, there we go. Oops, kind of subscribed, covering it up. Aaron Waller YT across pretty much all platforms, Instagram, Facebook. Send me a message if you want to recommend anything, or just leave a comment on this video, any of my other videos. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you guys did like this video. If you want to see more lives, let me know. What else? Make sure you subscribe, like this button says. I don't know how to point at this thing. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so make sure you subscribe. I do have a bunch of other videos. My Cinematically Late every single Thursday. I've got a new video talking about Hermione deserving better. If you're any Harry Potter fans out there, or Potterheads as they're better known. What else do I have going on? I'm sure something else that I'm completely spacing on. But let's check the comments really quick before we go. Time, it flies by. Yes, the time does fly by on these. It's been 29 minutes and I don't know where it went. Team Replay. Yes, Team Replay. Again, I appreciate you if you were here live. Thank you so much for showing up. If you're on Team Replay, thank you so much. Make sure you hit, yes, I always call them potheads too, Archer, but Potterhead is technically the correct term. So I always get slack for that. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're on Team Replay or you're live, thank you guys so much. I know sometimes I don't time these very well in terms of what time I do it, what day I do it. But if you're on Team Replay, if you're just here in general, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And that's all I have for now. Thank you guys so much, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.